What's up runners? Welcome back to the channel. Okay, is this the year that you run a half marathon or a marathon for the first time? Even if it's not, I'm going to be giving you 7 training tips that it's absolutely imperative that you avoid at all costs. That's what we're talking about in today's video. If this is your first time here, my name's Matt, and on this channel we talk about all things running. If you like running, if you like racing, if you miss racing, then give this video a thumbs up. If you're not already subscribed, now would be a great time to do so, and hit that bell icon so you're notified every time I drop a new video. Okay, with that said, first we're going for a run, then we're going to come back. We're talking about 7 things to avoid, 7 training mistakes to avoid. Let's go. Alright guys, whoa, almost lost the camera again. It's taken me so long to set it up. It's precariously balancing on the railing of this bridge. Is it going to stay like that? It's a little wonky, but that's okay. Guys, had a great run, had a fantastic run. I'm a little sweaty, but I am comfortably sweaty because it is only 52 degrees, which is about perfect in my book. And that is, for those of you wondering, 11.11 Celsius. A beautiful cloudy day that's got a little nip in the air. I'm gonna wrap this up outside pretty quickly because it's too cold to be standing around. But today's run, 8 miles, which is about 12.87 kilometers, an average pace of 8:11 a mile, which is about 5:05 a kilometer. As I said, feeling good. Glad to be back at it, glad to be out in the cold. But let's get back inside and let's keep talking about the training tips that people new to half marathons or marathons should avoid. This is good news. Even if you've run a few half marathons or marathons, you're probably going to want to keep watching. I know that I should take my own advice with a few of these. Off we go. All right guys, a great run. I'm all showered and ready to talk to you and let you know 7 tips of things you need to avoid if you are going to be racing. And this is especially so building up to maybe your first half marathon, maybe even your first marathon. So just a couple tips that you need to know that will help make the process a little easier. Number 1 is ignoring pain. Now remember, this is stuff that you need to avoid. You need to avoid ignoring pain. And I'm talking to myself here as much as all of you watching this, but don't convince yourself that pain has to be a normal part of marathon training. Now, listen, I know some of you are saying, Matt, have you ever trained for a marathon? Yes, okay, I've run over 50 marathons and I know that pain is a big part of it, but it's not pain, it's discomfort. And there's a big difference and you need to separate the two in your mind. Let's define pain as a feeling of discomfort that affects the way you run or affects the way you walk. So if it's changing your gait, it's gonna mess you up. You need to avoid that kind of pain at all costs. That is not normal. Of course, there is going to be muscle soreness. There's going to be a lot of muscle soreness. Let's not kid ourselves. Rest is the best way to get rid of pain. I'm telling you, if you can just nip it in the bud, if you can rest as soon as you start feeling that pain, perhaps you won't be like me and having to take the last month off. Number 2, setting unrealistic goals. This is huge because if you set an unrealistic goal, you are just setting yourself up for disappointment. If this is your first half marathon or marathon, it's okay to set finishing as your actual goal. That's huge. Do you know how few people have actually run a half marathon or a marathon? You are in the minority. Cherish that. Now, if it comes time for you to set a specific goal, there are a couple of keys that you need to do to set the right kind of goal to make it achievable. I've made videos that in the past. I will go ahead and link something up here just to explain SMART goals. Remember, a goal has to be challenging. It has to be challenging that you don't think you can achieve it right now, but it's something you just want to push for. But if it's too far out there, you'll be more likely to give up. Set good goals, my friends. Now, if you are up in your distance to the half marathon or the marathon, the long run is the bread and butter of your training. So, things to avoid. Number 3, do not skip your long runs. It's a challenge to get out there for such a long amount of time. If you prepare ahead of time, you're gonna make it so much more easier. So, eat, drink, sleep. Do everything you can to remove all the barriers, all the excuses. I'm too tired, I'm too hungry. Now is also the time to practice your fueling. So if you want to have a special kind of electrolyte drink, if you want to bring gels, use this time to practice. It is also a time to practice getting your mind right, because especially in the marathon. A marathon is nothing if not a mental game. Use this time to practice imagery. Use this time to practice positive self-talk. I can do this. I'm strong. I'm gonna crush this marathon. You can pick anything as long as it's not negative. If you let something negative in your mind, it is gonna bring you down pretty quickly. Number 4, the fourth thing to avoid in my book, and I know that some people might disagree with me, but especially if this is your first half marathon or marathon, I want you to avoid not cross-training. It's kind of a double negative. I want you to cross-train. Cross-training is anything that kind of supplements your running but isn't running. You'll see me on this channel, I use the Peloton a lot. I'm on the Peloton every single day, and that just helps me. It avoids having too much impact on my body, which I know through experience breaks me down and makes me injured if I run too much. Strength training is another way to cross-train, and probably the most important. If you are not already strength training, get off the sofa and start. There are a million ways for you to strength train, and I promise you that you will be a better runner because of it. Moving right along. Number 5. I don't want you skipping rest days. That is something that you need to avoid, skipping rest days. Rest days are hugely important. Listen, if you're on YouTube, if you're on Strava, you're gonna see a lot of people that don't take rest days. Remember that you're on your own journey, and especially if this is your first half marathon or marathon, a rest day is going to make you better for the rest of your training efforts. If you forget everything else that I've said, remember this. Rest is where we get stronger. All this training that we're doing, that's breaking muscles down. When you rest, it builds you back up stronger. Now, I'm a fan of active recovery. If you follow me on Strava, you'll see that I don't take any days off from working out. But what I do is mix things up. I certainly will take days off from running, I just won't take days off from exercise. So I'll mix things up. Maybe I'll do a very light day where I don't run and I just spin, or perhaps I go for a walk. Active recovery is where it's at. Don't just sit on the sofa. Number 6. Now this is a huge one for the success of your race. Maybe the biggest. I don't want you cramming your training in at the end of your training block. If you are training for your first half or full marathon, you're gonna get to a time where it's time to lower it down, right? The hay is in the barn, you've done all your training, it's time to taper in a couple of weeks before the actual race. If you're anything like me, you are gonna have got into a habit of running. And then when it comes down to the taper, because you're so rested, you're gonna find you just wanna get out and run. Don't do it. Don't cram the training in. You're not gonna do anything for your body. The training is already in the bag. Let the taper do its work. Enjoy the taper crazies for what they are. Everybody has them. And wait until race day and go out and crush it. Speaking of race day, number 7, and I know you've heard this already. If you haven't heard this, write in the comments below. I don't want you trying anything new on race day. The training is where we do everything. The training is where we practice. Race day is for racing alone. Everything. You've removed all the barriers. You've practiced. You know what shoes you're wearing. You know what socks you're wearing. You know what fueling you're going to use. Just don't do it. You might go to an expo and see something new, like a new pair of shoes. All the vendors come there and they all want to sell you stuff, and you're excited for the race, and you might think, oh, these shoes, I've always wanted these shoes. Maybe I'll buy these shoes and run the marathon in them. Don't do it. You can buy them, just don't run the race in them. You are going to keep to your plan. You're going to run the race in the shoes you planned. What do you have planned for this year for races? 2021. I don't even know if there's going to be races yet. Let me know if you have any plans, or write in the comments below. Thank you for staying all the way to the end of the video. I'll see you in a couple days, guys. New videos twice a week. Hey, if you haven't already given this video a thumbs up, do it right now. And if you're not subscribed, again, right now. Be kind, be happy, run well. See you in a couple days.